Right now we're going to look at some applications to the Pythagorean theorem, and one of the most important thing is here to draw your picture correctly. So number one, the school, park, and movie theater form a right triangle when shown on a map. The longest distance is between the school and the park. So right there it's telling us that the school and the park, those are on the two ends of the hypotenuse because it says the longest distance. So I'll put the school up here and then the park right down there. If there are 3.4 miles between the school and the movie theater, so this last vertex here must be the movie theater. So there's 3.4 meters, or miles actually, between those two. And 5 miles between the park and the movie theater. So that will be 5. We want to know how far the school is from the park. And remember, this has to be the longest distance because it's the hypotenuse. All right, so now this will be my C. So I'm going to set it up Pythagorean theorem. So 3 4/10 squared plus 5 squared equals C squared. And I'm going to grab a calculator to do these. So 3.4 squared is 11.56 plus 5 squared is 25 and it equals C squared. Again, I do want to see work done just like this. Now we'll add that. Make sure this is 11 5600ths. So this is just 25. Make sure you add those so your place values are the same, and if you're using a calculator, it shouldn't be an issue at all there. Then we take the square root of both sides. And again, you want to make sure you use a calculator. And we get C is approximately 6.046. So I'm going to say it's about, rounding to the nearest tenth, would just be 6 miles. All right, problem 2. Brandon is making a ramp. So if we're making a ramp, if you think about it, the ramp part of a right triangle would be my hypotenuse. So this part here is my ramp. The ramp stands 3 feet tall. If you're asking somebody how tall are you, that's always your vertical height. So the ramp stands 3 feet tall. And it's 9 feet long. So if I'm going on the ramp, it's going to take me 9 feet to go from the top to the bottom of that ramp. How long is the base of the ramp? So that would be this part here. So that's my X. Oops. Now the 9 here would be my C value. Okay, so I'm going to put that into the Pythagorean theorem. And I just want you to notice, you have a 3 and a 9. You can simplify if you want to make it a little bit easier. And when you do this simplifying, it actually helps you in the end. You don't have to reduce your radical as much. So if I do my simplifying, I'll do it dividing by 3 first. I get 1 plus x squared equals 9. Subtract 1 from both sides. I get x squared equals 8. Then I take the square root of both sides. And the square root of 8 is 2 root 2. Now I have to multiply that by 3. So I get 6 root 2, and that's feet. Okay. If I did it this way, it's not much more difficult because the numbers are not enormous. 72 is the same as 36 times 2. I'll just write that out in case anyone's still having trouble with that. So I get my 6 root 2 again. But again, it's just a little bit easier. If you can simplify it, go for it. Okay. All right, and Andrew, he needs a ladder to hang holiday lights. His house is 24 feet tall. So the height of his house is 24 feet tall. He has a flower bed that extends 4 feet out. So this is where my flowers would be. How long of a ladder does he need? So this is my ladder. I see a lot of kids do the ladder problems and they say that, well, this is the ladder and this is the house, but just really think about it. Does that make sense? All right. So here's my ladder. Okay, so now let's go ahead and figure out what our ladder needs to be. And again, your ladder is your C value because that is the hypotenuse here. You could simplify this to make your life a little bit easier if you want to. To simplify it, I could divide everything by 4 again. So I'd have 1 squared plus 6 squared equals x squared. So 1 plus 36, 37, So I get x would be the square root of 37. And then I need to multiply it by 4 again. I wrote 36 there, but it really should be 37. Oops. So I get x is the square root of 37. Then I multiply by 4 and I get 4 root 37. Okay. If I did it out the long way, I'd get 16 plus 24 squared is 576. Add those up, I get 592. And the square root of both sides, so x would equal, so I could simplify this and I'd get that 4 root 37, or if I want to know actually how long it would be, I could use my calculator. I'll do that this time. 592 equals, and I get 24.33. So he would need approximately a 24.3 foot ladder, or you could say 4 root 37 feet. If you're going to sort of buy a ladder, of course you'd say, oh, I need, 24.3 or 25 foot ladder. So now I'm going to ask you to pause this after I read it. Try drawing the picture out, and let's see how we do. So a tree is leaning up against the side of a house. The bottom of the tree is 15 feet away from the house. The tree is 20 feet long. How tall is the house? So pause the video and draw your picture. So hopefully you did something like this. The tree is leaning, so my tree is actually going to be the hypotenuse here. The bottom of the tree is 15 feet away from the house, and the tree is 20 feet long. How tall is the house? So that should be your diagram. Okay. We can go back and solve those later. Problem 2. A 20-foot flagpole is casting a shadow. So if you think about a shadow, where would that be? That is 12 feet long. How far is the top of the flagpole from the end of the shadow? So pause the video, draw your picture. So hopefully you have this now. 20-foot flagpole. So the 20-foot flagpole would be that vertical value there. Casting a shadow. When you look at your shadow, it's usually on the ground. How far is the top of the flagpole from the end of the shadow? So that would be your x. And looking at this one here, and even number 1, I would simplify that before I solved it. All right. Moving on to 3. A wheelchair ramp is 10 feet long. The ramp sits on a 2-foot platform. How far is it from the end of the ramp to the bottom of the platform? So pause it and draw your picture. So again, here we go. Right triangle. The wheelchair ramp, this would be my ramp, is 10 feet long. It sits on a 2-foot platform. How far is this distance here? So that would be my x. All right, 4. 3 cities form a right triangle on a map. Cities B and C are the furthest apart. If A and B are 14 miles apart and A and C are 22 miles apart, how far apart are the cities B and C? So pause and draw. So I'm going to just draw this, and I'm going to look back here. B and C are the furthest apart, so I know those are on the hypotenuse, so this would be my A. All right, so A and B are 14 miles. A and C are 22. We want to know how far B is from C. And then number 5, Luke is building a bike ramp. The ramp is going to be 3 feet tall on the high end and is 6 feet long. How long is the base of the ramp? Draw your picture. All right, let's see if we got this. The ramp, again, would be my hypotenuse. I'm going to just label that as ramp. It's going to be 3 feet tall, and it's 6 feet long. How long is the base of the ramp? So that's my base. And then number 6, a palm tree casts a 14-foot shadow. The end of the shadow is 22 feet from the top of the tree. How tall is the tree? So pause and draw. All right, let's hope we got that shadow down. So the shadow is here on the bottom. The end of the shadow is 22 feet from the top of the tree. So this would be my end of the shadow. This would be my top of the tree. How tall is the tree? Now that we have all our pictures, go back and solve them. See how you did. Here are the completed answers. So for number 1, you should have 5 root 7, which is approximately 13.23 feet tall, and it says to round to the nearest hundredth there. Number 2 is 4 root 34, which is approximately 23.32. Number 3 would be 4 root 6, which is 9.8 feet when rounded to the nearest hundredth. 4 is 26.08, or 2 root 170. Number 5 would be 3 root 3, or approximately 5.2 feet. And 6 would be 12 root 2, which is approximately 16.97. In my work, you can see for all these problems, I did simplify it where I could, just to make it a little bit easier when I was simplifying those radicals at the end. All right, hope you did well.